The purpose of these lessons is to show you the logic behind the most basic Chinese characters, beginning with the simplest pictograms, and later combining these elements to create more complex characters. This lesson is the first of 3 installments, introducing 11 common characters based on the same root, a container with its cover or lid, pronounced second tone, he, he. This first installment contains 6 characters, the first of which is the basic character he itself. Just as a lid fits over and closes its container, so in these first 2 examples, he means to close, especially a book. 他念了几首诗之后，就把书本合上。After reading a few poems, she closed her book. 因为太有趣了，女儿舍不得合上书。The book was so interesting my daughter couldn't put it down. Literally, she couldn't close it. To close means 2 sides come together. So it also means to combine or unite, giving us some easy-to-understand scientific terms. 这个合金有什么特性? What special characteristics does this alloy possess? An alloy is literally a combination of metals. 光合作用, photosynthesis, literally light combining effect, a direct translation from the Greek. To unite is another way of saying to come together. 我不能马上走，今天跟别人合用车。I can't leave right away. I came with friends in the same car. 我们一起合买了一个小木屋。We bought a small wood cabin together. A longer expression for adding together is 合在一起。合在一起，他们在工作上就能大有作为。Together, they can achieve great results on the job. 这2件事合在一起，使他心情特别好。These 2 things together have put him in an especially good mood. When things don't join together well, we have the phrase 不合。早知不合，当时就不会请他加入我们行列。Had I known she couldn't conform, I never would have invited her to join our group. 画中的石像跟背景不合比例。The stone statue is not in proportion to the painting background. 那个锅子太小，不合用。That pan won't do. It's too small. It won't do because it doesn't match our needs. 你的想法跟其他人不合拍。Your ideas are out of step with other people. 拍子 is the beat or rhythm of music. So, 不合拍 refers to not following the same beat as others. Out of step is the same idea, alluding to the uncoordinated steps of someone marching or dancing. The idiom 一言不合 means a jarring or surprising comment in a conversation that sets off an argument or fist fight. 那几个党员一言不合就动手打人。One opposing comment and those party members started brawling. 他们聊天时一言不合就吵起来了。A single jarring remark initiated an argument. 合得来 and 合不来 are verbs that imply a specific result. As mentioned in earlier lessons, a phrase ending with 来, literally approaching the speaker, suggests the outcome of an action. The addition of 的 indicates a desirable outcome, whereas 不 would be an unwanted result. So, 合得来 and 合不来 mean to get along with a person or not. 你跟宿舍的室友合得来吗？尚可。You getting along with your dorm roommate? Pretty much. 我以为他跟大家一定能合得来。I thought for sure he'd be able to get along with everyone. 他们因为一直合不来而分家的。Due to endless disagreements, they split up the family property and live apart. Similar to 合得来 is the phrase 合作, meaning to cooperate or collaborate. Literally, to work together. 他们之间的合作关系到此为止。The cooperative agreement between them has ended. 他的合作者持有不一样的构想。His collaborators hold different ideas on this. 今天你宝贝儿子特别皮，不肯跟我合作。Your little darling son has been naughty and uncooperative today. 他想合作，问题是我们个性不大合得来。She wants to collaborate. Problem is, our personalities would likely clash. In Lesson 74, we learned 里, meaning a settlement, arranged in more or less concentric circles, with houses in the center, terraced, cultivated fields surrounding them, and an outer border area beyond which was 野, the land inhabited by other tribes. When the jade radical 玉 was added, it referred to the various layers of marbling within the jade that were artistically incorporated into a sculpture. This layered structure gave rise to various extended senses involving logical arrangement, from those terraced landscapes to step-by-step reasoning and comprehension. The proper way things should be arranged and understood. So, here we have 合理, meaning logical or reasonable. 我想上个月的支出是合理的。I think last month's expenditures were reasonable. 大家公认迫使违法工厂停工是合理的。Everybody recognizes that forcing an illegal factory to suspend work is reasonable. 这明明不合理的指责，不要理他。This is clearly an unreasonable accusation. Just ignore it. 乍看起来，派你去好像不大合理。At first glance, it seems rather unreasonable that they would send you. In Lesson 59, we saw a pictogram showing the breath rising in the throat and being expelled forcefully, pronounced hu. This forceful puff of air serves as a question mark, exclamation point, or a universal particle, forming adjectives, adverbs, and prepositions. Some colloquial phrases we've seen before are 几乎, almost, 不外乎, only this, and 在乎, to care or be concerned about. Now we have 合乎, a very useful verb meaning to conform or correspond to accord or tally with. 他是个人才，可是不太合乎我们的需要。He's very talented, but isn't in line with what we need. 我找到了一份相当合乎理想的工作。I've found a job that's an ideal fit for me. 我想拍的电影，你是最合乎理想的主角。You would fit perfectly in the main role of the movie I want to make. 他明白这个说法完全合乎情理。She realizes that this argument accords with common sense. That last phrase, 合乎情理, can be written another way, with the same meaning. 合情合理。你的计划听起来合情合理。Your plan sounds fair and reasonable. 你这回宽待你哥哥是十分合情合理的。It's perfectly fair and reasonable to go easy on your brother this time. In accordance with the law, 合法 is the phrase for legal, lawful, rightful, or legitimate in Mandarin. 国王过世之后，王子理当是合法的王。After the king's death, the prince ought to be the rightful king. In lesson 58, I introduced 约, a pictogram of a bunch of silk with a ladle alongside as phonetic, meaning to bind or restrain. The silk component indicates rope, resulting from the plaiting or braiding of strands of silk, hemp, or other material. 合约 is a new combination for a binding agreement or contract. 这个买卖合约很明显不合法。This purchasing agreement is clearly illegal. 你这个行为一定违背合约的。What you did definitely violates the contract. In English, there's an informal expression for sleeping called shut-eye. In Chinese, they have a similar phrase, 合眼, but it's not quite as informal as the English version. 我相信我是再也无法合眼了。I'm convinced I'll never again get a good night's sleep. 这几天她几乎没有合过眼。She hasn't had a wink of sleep these past few days. In lesson 84, we saw the phrase for taking pictures, 拍照. So now we have the usual way to say a group photo, 合照, literally a combined photo. 大家都在，来拍个合照吧。Everybody's here. Let's take a group photo. 全班在宿舍外面合照留念。The whole class posed for a photograph outside the dorm to remember the occasion. 最后，我们拍了合照，完成今天的活动。To complete today's activity, we took a group picture at the end. If someone or something is suited to one's liking or taste, the phrases 合意 or 合心意 are useful. 她是个颇合你心意的女性。She's a woman that should suit your taste. 到今天为止，她没有找到合意的男人。So far, she hasn't found her Mr. Right. 她特别合意这份工作， He's especially pleased with this job. 你去看看二手车何意再买. Go see whether the second-hand car is suitable before buying it. In Lesson 45, we learned the character 记, the speech radical next to the number 10, meaning literally to count numbers aloud, or in other words, to calculate, plan, or strategize. When paired with 和, 和记, it translates as two naturally related ideas, to add up, to amount to, and also to figure out or think over. 它合计需要3个半月的时间. She figures it'll take 3.5 months. 你合计一下有多少人会来明天的聚餐? Add up the number of people who will attend tomorrow's dinner. 这些事情在我心里已合计过好久了. I've been thinking this over for a long time. 大家合计这个计划要怎么介绍? Let's put our heads together on how to present this plan. 看起来大家合计好不打电话请我了. It appears they got together and decided not to phone me an invitation. Now we have several expressions with 和 as the second character. 联合 means to come together or unite. 联合国是个大机构. The United Nations is a huge organization. 说真话，全班会联合起来支持你. Tell the truth. The entire class will come together to support you. 别跟他吵，他的死党会联合起来打你. Don't argue with him or his friends will gang up on you. A round, or bout, when referring to sports, is 回合. Literally, another coming together to compete. 他们又吵了一个回合，没完没了. There they go for another round. It never ends. When attending a wedding, it's not unusual to hear comments like, they make such a lovely couple, or they complement each other so well. In Chinese, that might be the idiom 天作之合, literally, a match made in heaven. 他们就像天作之合. They're such a perfect couple. 你们要彼此了解，就像天作之合一样. You must get to know each other, just like a pair of lovebirds. From this basic character, 和, we now turn to characters in which it appears as a semantic or phonetic component. But first, we have to introduce a new radical, the plate or dish radical, pronounced third tone, 抿, 抿. As a standalone character, 抿 is not common, but it enters into plenty of other characters relating to containers, such as this new one for a box, pronounced second tone, 和, 和. In the following example, 和 is a measure word. 一盒点心, a box of snacks. As we've seen many times before, due to the huge number of homonyms in modern Chinese, a single character is easily confused with dozens of others with the same or similar pronunciation. For this reason, the word for the noun box takes the ending 子 to make it easily recognizable. 盒子. In Beijing Mandarin, it would probably be given the er ending instead. 一盒,两盒. 这个盒子里有你的东西. There are some things of yours in that box. 不要把盒子丢了，以后可能用得着. Don't throw the box away. It might come in handy later. 盒子上的使用说明说什么? What do the instructions on the box say? The next character, derived from 和, adds the mouth radical. 口. Pronounced first tone. Ha. Ha. It originally referred to the gaping mouth of a fish, but now it's used for humans when they open their mouths to laugh or yawn. Yes, this is the character for ha ha that you will find in stories or online comments. It can also simply be a character imitating a sound, such as when blowing warm air on your hands, or fogging your glasses, a bit to facilitate cleaning them. 溜冰时，他常常停下来，给手哈气. While ice skating, she often stopped to blow warm air on her hands. 打哈哈 is one expression for cracking jokes, having fun, making fun of someone, or, more seriously, saying something irrelevant to avoid discussing the real issue. 别跟我打哈哈. Stop joking around. 这件事情很重要，可别打哈哈. This is a serious matter that mustn't be treated carelessly. 你最好当心，看你是跟什么人打哈哈. You'd better be careful who you're poking fun at. Ha has also replaced a more ancient and very rare character that my computer doesn't even recognize, so I have no way to type it to show you. However, it's not important, because ha has been substituted for it in the modern language. That's why the meaning is totally unrelated to the gaping mouth of a fish, laughing or yawning. This expression is ha yao, meaning to bow slightly to show respect, or as a sign of greeting. It can also mean to bend completely at the waist, to pick something up off the ground. 我坐在椅子上，哈腰找地上的手机. I sat on the chair and bent down to pick up my cell phone. 招待员向我们点头哈腰. The receptionist nodded to us with a slight bow. 卖主点头哈腰，跟我们打招呼. The seller greeted us with a nod and slight bow. 为了想得到什么，我才不点头哈腰. I'm not bowing and scraping to anyone to get what I want. Next, we have a character, seemingly unrelated to 和, but you'll soon understand why I'm including it here. We first need to review the character 币 from Lesson 39. 币 looks like a heart with a slash through it, but that's not at all what it represents. It's actually a forked stick fixed in the ground to mark the boundary between two plots of land. The separation radical and number 8, 八, serves as both semantic and phonetic elements. because that forked stick separates the two properties and must be respected, giving be the meaning of the verb to have to, or must do something. This same forked stick appears in today's new character, where a hand is using it to dig up taro root tubers, represented by those 3 elongated dots, which were eventually reduced to just 2. This character is pronounced second tone, shu, shu, and sometimes first tone, shu, shu. Since young boys were usually tasked with digging up these edible tubers, shu came to mean the little boys themselves, and later, the younger brothers of one's father. In other words, one's paternal uncles. It's also the form of address for a man of one's father's generation, but younger than him. In ancient China, sometimes 4 or 5 generations of the same family would live under one roof, and accurate terms were therefore necessary for each member, which explains why the Chinese terms for family relationships are very precise. We've already learned that 哥哥 is the way to address your older brother, and if you have more than one, they will be given numbers according to their birth order. 大哥 is the oldest, or firstborn male, followed by 二哥, 三哥, and so on until arriving at yourself. After that is the term for younger brothers, which we haven't learned yet. Something I haven't mentioned before is that when a surname precedes 大哥, such as 王大哥 or 刘大哥, it's a polite way to address an adult male older than oneself, but not an actual relative, possibly a friendly coworker or a neighbor. For example, adult neighbors in my apartment building who are noticeably younger than I am call me 柯大哥, my Chinese surname being 柯. When addressing one's father's younger brothers, we now have the proper term. Second tone, 叔叔 in Taiwan, and first tone, 叔叔 in China. Beginning with your father's birth position, whatever number that may be, say he's the 3rd son, his younger brothers would then be addressed as 四叔, 五叔, until you run out of uncles on your father's side. When I was in my 30s and visiting Beijing long ago, a little girl on a bus pointed at me, turned to her mother, and said, 外国人, 高鼻子叔叔. Translated, that's a foreigner. Big-nosed uncle. 鼻子, of course, is your nose, a character to be learned in a future lesson. Thankfully, these relationship terms are fewer in number in what are now today's nuclear families, with maybe a grandparent or two living in the same household. During family get-togethers, children are always reminded where a relative lies on the genealogical map and are expected to address him or her properly. 我叔叔是个很讲理的人. My uncle is a very reasonable person. 父母过世之后，他在叔父家里寄宿. After his parents died, he moved in with his uncle's family. 明天是林大叔的生日聚餐，您能赏光吗? Tomorrow's a birthday get-together for Uncle Lin. Can you join us? Uncle Lin is a polite way to refer to a friend or neighbor younger than your father. All of this explanation about the character shu is to help understand how our next character developed. Once those little boys digging up tubers with a stick came to mean younger males of your father's generation, the meaning of picking something up from the ground or floor needed its own character. So somebody apparently invented this one. It's a hand, radical, shou, with the container with lid, semantic. He, pronounced second tone. Shi, shi. It's not too hard to figure out the logic. To bend your body over so that your hand can tightly grasp something, just as a lid fits snugly on its container. Since this character is pronounced the same as the number 10, shi, it was chosen as the formal way to write number 10 in a document or on a check to prevent fraud. Remember that a number 10 is easily altered to become the number 1,000, 千. 50元 equals 50元, 50 yuan, as it would appear in a document on the left and in everyday handwriting on the right. 拾起来 means to pick up, and 拾到 is another way to say find. 他哈腰把书拾了起来. He bent down and picked up the book. 他把书一一拾起来，看里面有无人题字. He picked up the books one by one and looked inside for any inscriptions. 妈把地上的信拾了起来. Mom picked up the letter off the floor. 他那天在街上拾到了一个皮夹. He found a wallet on the street the other day. 这把钥匙是我昨天拾到的那把吗? Is this the key I found yesterday? Here is our color chart with today's 5 characters. 和 ha 敏 和 shu or shu 十. Here's a recap from today's lesson. 1. This lesson contains 4 characters, including the element he, meaning a lid covering a jar or container. It has connotations of closing, combining, uniting, suitability, and getting along with others. 2. Ha adds the mouth radical to indicate the gaping mouth of a fish, which was then applied to humans to mean laughing, yawning, and blowing warm air. It was later borrowed to replace the meaning of a person bending at the waist, ha yao, which at one time was a totally unrelated character. 3. Third tone, min, was introduced to explain the character he for a box, usually a small one. 4. It was necessary to learn shu, the character for digging up taro root tubers for food, so that we could see why the character shi was created. Since young boys were usually the ones to gather these tubers, shu became so closely associated with them that shu eventually came to refer to the boys themselves, and later to the younger brothers of one's father. The action of bending over to pick something up off the ground then needed its own character. So one was invented, giving us the character shi, meaning precisely to bend over and grasp anything on the ground. And it no longer refers to just taro root tubers. 5. Before shu was borrowed to mean a paternal uncle, the same character, minus the right hand yo element, actually referred to beans, peas, and lentils. Some etymologists say, therefore, that the right hand of shu was simply picking beans and not digging up tubers at all. Tubers are generally short, thick, and rounded, like potatoes. Beans and peas look quite similar, but are obviously much smaller in size and grow above ground. Later, in the Han Dynasty, the cooking pot dou, introduced in Lesson 40, became the generic term for all beans, peas, and the like. Shu was then crowned with a grass radical to refer specifically to the bean family, but this character has fallen into disuse. It's interesting to note that Chinese speakers in China call soybeans da dou, big beans, while potatoes are tu dou, literally earth beans. Now you will find a short quiz on double, triple character, and longer expressions. Answer using only the characters learned so far. Thank you for watching and listening.